But on State Street here, do you know this area? And I'll just do a little loop around here. This street and the buildings around here have been suppressed forever. This street has never, ever been revived. I came down here as a kid, all the way down State Street. I came down here as a kid with my mother in the winter to see the windows at Marshall Fields and that. And it was awesome. But all this, the Block 37 project, wasn't successful at all. So this whole State Street and the buildings north and south on State Street truly have diminished in value greatly. This has never reclaimed its old thing. And they need to beautify this like they do in Michigan Avenue. They have all kinds of things beautifying the street. It's very, how do you say, dingy. Michigan Avenue, you get a lot of light. Here, you don't get a lot of light. You have tall buildings left and right. Michigan Avenue, you tend to get more light. There's more pathways between the buildings and so on. Here, it tends to be a little bit more drabby. So they have to figure out how to beautify this area and how to work with the environment to truly brighten it up, to make it more beautiful. So down here, again, I'll go, the theater district's right here. If they want to employ homeless, how about doing a theater show at the Nederlander about the homeless? Or at the Chicago Theater? And get the homeless off the street and just make it a theatrical play. Truly. And no more homeless on the street. The only time you see homeless is when you go see a play. How it was in the past. No more. And you just go watch a play at the Nederlander. And it's about, this 1930 and the homeless and the hobos and so on. And you see them at the theatrical theater. I should never see them on the street. So, let's see. They're in Vel and Terrell Brown. Yeah, they're both brown people. So one female, one male. ABC Studios. Next to ESPN. Terrell can do something on ESPN. Ryan Cheveriti could do something with ESPN. But they don't. So, dance is a sport. So ESPN can cover dance. There's the cheerleading events they cover on ESPN, the competitive cheerleading. That's all dance. So again, they can work next door with ESPN. Truly. They can work together as a team. ESPN, ABC. So again, sharing clips from ESPN on ABC, and when they run the sports, when Ryan's on there, and it says, film provided by ESPN, or audio provided by ESPN, or video and audio provided by ESPN. And they have the little ESPN logo. Thanks to our partners, ESPN, for providing this sports content. Truly. And so ABC works with ESPN, ESPN works with ABC. When things are going on in the sporting world, they can provide content over to ABC to talk about it. They can talk about the stadium, which they do, and many other things, and that content can be provided by ESPN to ABC. So it goes from ABC to ESPN, ESPN to ABC. So again, they can work together. I'm here by Donald Trump, and Right across the street is another property, the Langdon, another hotel. So, but you only hear about Trump Towers. But as far as I know, that's a nice hotel. So again, the Langdon should be doing better because it can emphasize it's right across the street from the Trump Towers. Truly, more people are familiar with Trump, so you can say that's a place and you're promoting them indirectly to promote yourself, but people know the name Trump. He's president, and you say the Langdon Hotel is right across the street from Trump Towers. So, beautiful area to be in. So again, you got the Holiday Inn, the Hilton Garden Inn. You have discount hotels down here, the Homewood Suites, and many others. So there's something for everybody depending on their budget. So if you're spending more time in the hotel, then it's better to get a nicer hotel. But if you're not going to spend as much time in the hotel, then usually you try to spend down on the hotel. So it depends on how much time are you going to be. Are you going to the spa? Like the Wit has a beautiful spa in that, and you might be spending a lot of time in the hotel, hanging out at their, rooftop, garden, and being at the spa and other things. So you spend up. But you have the Hilton Garden Inn because you're not going to spend a lot of time. You're going to be in Belly Casino a lot of the time. So you spend down on the hotel and you spend up on the casino. So, and you can go to Pizza Duo, Pizza Uno, pan pizza here, stuffed pizza over there, Pizza Uno stuff, Pizza Duo pan. And so you have all this stuff going down, and the escape room is a good thing, the escape game. So, again, there's lots of opportunity. And so, the annual graduates luncheon, they have a banner for it. That's great. Nice female. It looks Asian. But the annual graduates luncheon, a lot of Asians go to graduate school. So, it's a fact. So, again, lots of beautiful thing, and these are the main entrance and exit to downtown Chicago. Ontario runs to the expressway. Ohio runs away. Both what? Lakes. So they both run east and west. They both run from Lake Michigan or to Lake Michigan. Ontario and Ohio are both lakes. Lake Ontario, Lake Ohio, they are lakes. But anyways, it's not talking about Ohio, the state. But all of our presidents run east and west. So all downtown, Madison, Monroe, those are all presidents. They run east and west. So if you know the presidents, you see a president's name in Chicago, you know that street's running east and west. Anything that's a non-president runs north and south. Now you have Lincoln Avenue, that runs on the angle. That's the only one. And then you have north and south, Martin Luther King Drive, which is also Michigan Avenue. On the south side, it's Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. On the north side of the city, further north, it's Michigan Avenue. Named after Lake Michigan, because it was off of Lake Michigan. So it's not a lake, it's just Michigan. So it's Michigan Avenue. But if you start understanding things in Chicago, it's a grid system, and it's very easy to understand the system, how the city's laid out. So, again, city of Chicago is laid out very logical. So that makes it very efficient for emergency planning. Truly, it makes it very efficient. Where you get places like New York and that, and New Jersey, they in the East Coast, those run dead end here, start. It's much more complicated out there. This was burned down and then rebuilt on a grid system. The Chicago fire was actually a very good thing because instead of being chaos, once it burned down, they rebuilt it on a grid platform. And it made the city very logical and efficient in movement. All they have to do is fix the lighting system, and traffic will flow very well in the city of Chicago. So it's ripe for efficiency, but only if government does it. But the whole city is set up to be highly efficient. So make no mistake about it. The city of Chicago is designed for efficient movement. And it's only the stupidity of our leadership is the reason it's not efficient. It's not because of their ingenious intelligence. Mayor Daley had no idea about urban planning. He was a prosecutor. He specialized in prosecuting people. He never took classes in urban development, urban planning, business, small business incomization, training, building out educational networks. He had no idea what he was doing in that aspect. So the city suffered. That's why he had such budget shortfalls. He couldn't generate revenue because he had no brains to generate revenue. So the city ran into these financial problems. And then Ron was better, but again, he had no background in urban planning and business and economics and so on and so forth. So again, he didn't know what he was doing. So you get leadership that has no idea how to make things thrive. Like, what is Pritzker's background in agricultural, industrial, you name it? What is his background? He might have some money, but he didn't create that money. Oh no, he wasn't the one that made the money. That money was made by his ancestors, not him. So make no mistake about that. And he hasn't built it to great wealth. He hasn't made it multiple billions. So I watch people what they start with. And so his ancestors were great. He's not great. So you put these people in leadership that aren't capable at all. Michael Madigan wasn't a capable person. He was a good tyrant, but he didn't know anything about making things successful. But he was all about the power. That's it. He had no idea how to make things thrive. That's why the state had budget shortfalls, and we had all these governors that had budget. Even James Thompson, I liked him as a governor, but again, he was a lawyer. He had no idea about how to make things truly thrive. And so we put these things in place, these leadership, and they don't have ideas on truly how to make things unbelievably thrive, and you get all this dysfunctionality. So these things need to change. People need to get better on who they vote for. It's about their capabilities. Yes, they got to carry themselves well, but that's just one part. It's about their ability to make things happen. Why do you think God picked me? I have unbelievable track record of making things happen, of success. Golden touch. Or they say the Midas touch. Everything you touch turns to gold. And it does. I was highly successful at making everybody highly successful. So again, you're putting people in place, and all these countries put people like Hugo Chavez and Fidel Castro and all. They have no idea. It's like Ma in China. All those people starved to death. He didn't make things. If it wasn't for Nixon bringing in reform, I don't know how many millions and tens of millions or hundreds of millions of Chinese would have starved to death. They didn't need the one child policy, because without Nixon, they literally would have imploded in pure starvation. So again, they put leadership in that have no idea what they're doing. And that changes. I like President Ping. He seems to have an idea that tackled the issues and seems to be doing a better job than prior presidents of China. Truly. And he's great reform to women. He has a very strong wife. Truly, he has a very strong wife. And they are a good power couple, and they've made good reforms both for males and females within China. But what is the First Lady doing? And how is she moving female agendas in the United States? Because Governor Pritzker's wife should be running the women's agenda. Now, he's both male and female because he's a governor, but his wife is working behind the scenes, going to all the women's groups and that, whether it's inside church, in business, outside, educational, and trying to move things in the right direction. And then he can meet with other people on the male side. But you're supposed to work together as an efficient team. And so I don't see what Melania Trump is doing to triumph women's issues. Domestically, and then in U.S. territories, does she go to Guam and Puerto Rico on that and see what's going on with females in the American Virgin Islands, American Samoa? Truly. And what's going on with females at military bases and females that work in government offices? She has a lot to do. And I don't understand. I don't see her doing it. She should be a very busy lady. So, I don't understand what him and her are doing. And how are they championing and making this country greater? Originally, I believe. Now, I'm skeptical. I don't see the magic, glitter, the sparkles, making it rain. I don't see them being the rain makers. So, I have a problem. Yep, Dolce and Gabbana, and I like their clothing and everything. Now they're with Ray-Ban. They're clothes with Ray-Ban glasses. Yeah, I like their stuff. I only could afford a little bit of it, but I used to buy their stuff, Jabot. But again, that's off topic. But again, these are supposed to be people like Mayor Brandon Johnson making shit happen. But to make it happen, he has to understand how it works. Does he understand anything about the medical industry? The medical device industry? The agricultural industry? The manufacturing industry? The automotive industry? I've been across the board. I grew up in all of this. How can he make it happen when he doesn't know anything about it? Because you can't make a proper decision and put it in a good place if you have no idea how it functions. So people have to make better decisions on who they choose to lead them. It's been a horrible situation with our choice in leadership. Very horrible. Leave it there.